House Speaker Mike Johnson will cave to a key demand of far-right members of his party this week when he calls for a floor vote to authorize a formal impeachment inquiry against President Biden. On Thursday, Republicans released the text of a resolution, and Johnson says he is confident that his members have the votes to pass it. But it's a solution in search of a problem. Despite months of investigation into Biden and his family's business dealings by Republicans, they have yet to find any concrete evidence of any wrongdoing of any kind by the president. But don't take my word for it. Listen to Fox News' Peter Doocy laying it out for his audience.
The House Oversight Committee has been at this for years, and they have so far not been able to provide any concrete evidence that Joe Biden personally profited from his son Hunter's overseas business.
Joining me now, Ian Sams, White House spokesman for Oversight and Investigations, special assistant to the president, and senior advisor with the White House counsel's office. Ian, as always, thank you for coming to the Sunday show. My colleague at the Washington Post, Dana Milbank, had an interesting and very well done piece comparing the impeachment managers to the Three Stooges. And it reads in part, Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is Mo, thundering and blundering in his repeated failures to prove Biden's weaponization of the government. Jason Smith, the in-over-his-head chairman of Ways and Means, is Larry, brainlessly reciting whatever script is in front of him. And Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is Curly, perpetually getting a pie in the face when the evidence he produces is immediately debunked. Ian, how seriously is the White House taking this inquiry?
Yeah, I think Dana lays out some good points in that about how the Republicans all year have been throwing up these little balloons and then they go pop. And it's because they don't have any evidence of any wrongdoing, because there isn't any evidence of wrongdoing. And I think it's easy to sort of sit and laugh and chuckle at this bungling exercise by House Republicans trying to impeach the president based on nothing. But there's something more sinister at play here. You think about what we saw on January 6th when they tried to overturn the election. What happened a couple of weeks later? On his first full day in office, Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. They want to overturn what happened in 2020, and they're using their power to launch these baseless political attacks against the president. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one driving this train now. And Speaker Mike Johnson a month ago said, behind closed doors in the Washington Post, said that there is no evidence to support moving to a formal impeachment proceeding. What's changed in the last month? The only thing that's changed in the last month is that Marjorie Taylor Greene and that same far-right faction are starting to come at him, starting to go after him and say, why aren't you doing what we want you to do? And so he's throwing red meat to the base in the same way that Kevin McCarthy did this summer to launch this political exercise to attack the president when we should be focusing on real issues. And the president's going to keep focusing on real issues. We're going to push back against this stunt very, very hard. But it's not going to distract the president from focusing on things like Ukraine aid, which they won't even take up before they leave town for a month.
What you said you're going to put the White House and the president is going to push back very, very hard. How? What's that going to look like?
Well, you see things like, you showed the clip of Peter Doocy. Even Fox News hosts, Fox News anchors are expressing skepticism about this. And it's because we're continuing to push the facts out every single day. When they make allegations that turn out to be examples of the president being a good dad or a good family member as somehow nefarious evidence of wrongdoing, we're going to point out the facts immediately and swiftly. We're going to come and sell our message on TV and things like this conversation today. But we're also going to push really hard about what's happening here. What's happening here is that the House Republicans have shown that they don't actually care about any issues that the American people are trying to make their lives better. Instead, they're focusing on these political stunts to try to get themselves on Newsmax and talk about these things in the right-wing media ecosystem, even though they're baseless and false. And so, I think that when you see the president every day, you see him talking about things like Ukraine aid and the need to make sure that they have the resources to push back on Putin. You see him talking about the need to get funding to the WIC program, women and infants, low income, who need food as we head into winter. And these are things that the House needs to pass. They need to pass these funding supplementals, and they refuse to do it. And it's only going to get more intense over the next month. As you mentioned earlier in the show, they're moving to a government shutdown in just a few weeks, and they're going to leave town for the holidays without doing anything to avoid it. while voting on an impeachment inquiry that has no basis in fact and reality.
Real quickly, we have less than a minute left, but if you just to play devil's advocate here, Marjorie Taylor Greene filed these articles of impeachment because, well, Democrats did that to Donald Trump, and there was no evidence there. What do you make of folks trying to say that what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
I think it's part and parcel of this House Republican conference's willingness to go to the far right extreme universe to degrade our government, our institutions of democracy, the constitutional norms that we've relied upon in this country. This is a constitutional remedy reserved for the gravest of offenses. And when you can't even lay out a grave offense, what are you doing? All the past impeachments in our country's history have had a predicate of some sort of governing action that was seen as wrong. And there's a debate and there's a fight over it, but they can't even point to one. And so I think that it's an example of the way that they are making sort of these extreme partisan political attacks the only thing they do in power instead of anything to help the American people.
Real quickly, if they do indeed vote to authorize an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, will President Biden address the nation and talk about this?
Well, we'll see what they do. I mean, I think that part of the issue here is the president's focused on real issues, not fake ones. And if the House Republicans focus on fake issues, it doesn't mean that the president needs to come out and say, oh, let me talk about all these fake issues. So I think what we're going to do is push back with the facts and call them out for exactly what they're doing. And I think the president's being very clear about what his priorities are in contrast to these extreme Republicans.
Ian Sams, spokesperson for the White House, thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday Show.
Thanks.